I mean, we're obviously coming off a tough loss. We did not play particularly well at Tennessee. They exposed some weaknesses. We're currently, if you look at conference-only games, we're dead last in turnover percentage on offense. We had not had that issue really until we hit conference play. So we've got to get some guys to start taking care of the ball better. Starting with our backcourt. Mark Ryland turned it over quite a bit. Tennessee, Aaron's had issues with his turnovers. I think those three guys really got to take care of the ball. Because Auburn turns people over more than anybody in the league if you look at conference-only games. So their strength on defense has been our weakness on offense. So that's going to be a major area of concern and where we need to look at. And then Auburn's just playing well. I mean, they're, Coach Pearl's done a great job there. He's got them playing at an elite level. I mean, you look at their last 11 games or whatever. I mean, they're running through people. They're shooting the ball well. They're playing hard on defense. They're super deep. I think they're third in the country in bench scoring. So they don't have too many flaws. Now, it's going to be a typical Alabama-Auburn game. I mean, even when one team's, and they're definitely playing better than we are right now, but even when one team's better than another, these games tend to be tough, hard-fought games. We were the better team last year, and they came in here and we were down, 17 with under 8 minutes to go, because they came and played hard, and we were somehow fortunate enough to get the win. We probably didn't deserve it for at least 30-plus minutes. We didn't deserve that win last year. So it'll be an intense game. Our guys need to play with a little bit more intensity, a little more toughness than we did at Tennessee, a lot more actually. But, we do have a good offense when we're not turning the ball over. They have a good offense. We need to, Jalen Williams is shooting it well. Holloway, the freshman point guard, is playing elite. Broom's one of the best bigs in the league. They've got really good pieces on the team.
Just mentioned Broom. Just how important is it for guys like Nick and Grant and even Mo to play well in this game?
I mean, we've struggled in some of these games. We played some of the best bigs in the country when, we played Edie, Ballo, Kalkbrenner, Tolu Smith's been pretty good. I mean, you kind of go down the list. We played some good ones. Broom's the leading scorer for Auburn. He's really good. So it is a concern. We've had foul problems with those guys. Nick's got to do a better job guarding it. Now, Nick hasn't been in foul trouble here lately, but he's got a history of it. He's got to do a better job guarding him without fouling. Grant did a pretty good job on Tolu. We might have to move Grant there a little bit. And Wagi's got the same issue as Nick. He's got to do a better job without fouling. So, and Broom's tough. He's physical. He deep seals you. He can step out and make a three. He can take you off the dribble. So he's not, he's not Zachy. He's not that big. He's not as good maybe in the post, but he's got unbelievable footwork in there, and he's strong. So he's definitely a concern for us.
Yeah, you talked about their just ability to force turnovers, but I mean, they don't turn the ball over much in terms of non-steals. I mean, what do you see there from the way they take care of the ball?
Yeah, I mean, they've got a freshman point guard that's doing a really good job running their team, taking care of the ball. So I see a quality team that's well coached, that understands the value of taking care of the ball, and we got to get better at it. Our defense has never been one to, and they play super hard, but they kind of junk it up and they'll trap and, different out of bounds schemes to try to turn you over. We haven't done that as much. So we've been more we had the number one effective field goal percentage in the country last year on defense. Ours has been a little bit more like that. With this group, we may need to be a little more aggressive at times, similar to them, but they do a good job taking care of the ball. We don't necessarily have to turn you over to have a good defensive performance, but we haven't been as good at our effective field goal percentage this year. Teams have been able to get to the rim too much and get too many open threes, but we're not going to all of a sudden start gambling, going for steals, putting us in. That's not really who we are.
Yeah, Coach, how would you describe kind of this matchup, this rivalry, and what it's meant to you and this team since you've been here?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Pearl came in, turned that program completely around. I mean, you look at where it was before he got here, it was at the bottom of this league. So the last 3 years, the regular season championships have been totally in the SEC, have been totally in Alabama, the state of Alabama. We've got 2 of them. They've got 1. They've done a good job. I think somebody told me in the last 6 years, since 2017, there's been 9 first-round picks in the Alabama-Auburn games. So you look at the talent. They've had a Curl, Jabari Smith. They've had lottery picks. We've had Kyra, Primo, Brandon Miller, multiple lottery picks, multiple first-round picks from both groups. There's been a lot of talent. There's been a lot of winning between the 2 programs. There hasn't been a lot of blowouts. They're all pretty close games, and the fans certainly get into it. I mean, their environment over there is great. I'm sure our environment here tomorrow will be great. It's a big rivalry game that and Coach Pearl made the point to me, I think maybe my second year, like this game's always been a big game in the state of Alabama. It's taken it from a big game in the state of Alabama to a big game in the country. I think games of the night on Wednesday, I think somebody put them out. Maybe it was Andy Katz had Alabama-Auburn game, number one game, maybe even of the week. I'm not sure. Somebody sent it to me, but it's gotten to be that point. Like this, they're in first place in the league. We're 1 game behind them. If they beat us, they're 2 games out, and they've given themselves an unbelievable lead to win the league. If we beat them, we're tied for first place, and we're right there competing for a league championship again. So this game has meaning across the country, not just in the state of Alabama now.
Talked about KD Johnson last night on the radio. Just maybe the season shooting percentage isn't great, but he went 4 or 5 against you last year. Just how dangerous is he as a shooter?
Yeah, we made that point. Our guys know it. You can look at his numbers. That is what he's shooting. The numbers are the numbers. He's going to have a little bit different edge to him in tomorrow night's game than he has in the rest of these games. And he's one of their real emotional guys. Talks a lot. Gets his energy up. They kind of play off his energy a little bit. So we're not going to treat him like a 20% shooter. He's going to be treated a lot more like the 4 or 5 shooter he played like last year.
You mentioned that Auburn's playing better right now, but how would you describe the gap between you guys right now? Is it a lot closer than maybe it looks on the record? Or
yeah, I like record-wise, they're significantly better than we are. We're 12-6, and they don't have many losses. They're if you look at the metrics, and I've told our guys this, like, okay, that's great. We've blown out some bad teams by a lot, so our efficiency metrics look good. In the games that matter, we're not coming up with enough wins. They've come up with a lot more wins. So we'll see tomorrow. I don't really have the answer to that. I think our guys need to compete more. They need to play together more. They need to take care of the ball more. Like, we got to figure out how to win tough, close games. Like, I do think the talent level's a lot closer than what the record would say, but talent's not everything. Like, you can be a really talented non-competitor. Like, I'm still trying to figure out, are we a competitive group that does what it takes to win, or are we just got a lot of really talented players that fold when they're in the middle of tough games against good teams? Because I'm not sure yet. Like, I hope we got some competitive guys. I thought today's practice looked a little bit more like what it's supposed to look like. But we'll see when the ball goes up tomorrow, though.
Talked about the last 3 regular season titles being in the state. And all 3 of those years, one of the 2 teams has swept the series. So how important is it this year that y'all have the first opportunity to, use that home court advantage in the series this year?
Yeah, it's, they're in first place. They're ahead of us in the league. Like you said, the 2 years we won the regular season, we swept them. The 1 year they won the regular season, they swept us. They're a better team than we are right now. So this win at home is going to go a long ways towards the league championship, in my opinion. I mean, if they beat us, they're obviously going to be favored at home, and they're going to be 2 games ahead of us and at least 1 game ahead of everybody else. If we can beat them, we'll be right in it, tied with them. They certainly won't sweep us. If we can get this first win, and and we got to get ourselves going. We got to prove to ourselves we can win a tough game. So I hope we've got some competitive guys that know what a rivalry game looks like that can step up in this big game and play like it's for the league championship, because it very well may be.
I think you mentioned last night how last year you guys lost at Tennessee but bounced back in a big way against Georgia. Just how have you seen the guys respond in practice to maybe do the same?
Some of the guys, and we practiced twice, Monday, Tuesday. I thought some of them responded appropriately Monday. I thought a lot more of them responded appropriately today. We made that point. We lost was it after Tennessee was at the Georgia game, and after the Oklahoma game was the Vanderbilt game. Yeah, we responded to those losses pretty well last year. Now, Auburn's not Vanderbilt and Georgia of last year. They're the best team in our league right now. So I told our guys it's going to take an effort like we played with against Vanderbilt and Georgia after the losses last year, just to get a win, period. We're not going to blow these guys out like we did. But points made, like we did respond well last year. I think some of these guys understand what it takes to compete in this league, and some guys are still trying to figure it out.
They just released the 2024 McDonald's All-American rosters, and both Aiden Sherrill and Darian Reed were named. What does that recognition mean for both them in this program?
Yeah, I mean, they're really good players. We're super excited to get them both here. It's those are supposed to be the 24 best players in high school basketball. It's nice to have two of them. When you have more talent, it's easier to be a really good coach. It's easier to win games. So we're excited to have, the opportunity to hopefully have more talent than a lot of our opponents next year. So, our assistants did a great job. We were on both these guys with the previous assistants, and they got handed off to the new assistants that were able to close it. I mean, we've been on both these guys for a long time. Darian being from over in Georgia, not too far, has been over here a decent amount. Aiden's originally from Detroit. I coached 11 years, and those people, he's kind of bounced around a couple different places, but they're both high school teammates now, which is pretty cool because we were recruiting them before they ever teamed up together. And their team's one of the best teams in high school basketball. Hopefully they're come in knowing how to win, competing. But yeah, you got to get good talent to win, and I like where we're at with this class. And then Nas is really good too. So he didn't make the McDonald's game, but he's got three guys that are top 40, for sure top 50 players that are all very talented and fit the scheme that we want to play under.